Jesus, gross.
So there's a lot of conversation over Primal episode 6 season 2. Jenny knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing when we saw Range for the first time. I already knew that was gonna happen, and I am over the moon about it. But I actually saw a lot of people having a conversation over something I didn't actually think would be a conversation or an issue. But a lot of people were grossed out about the baby giving birth scene or laying egg scene. Some people thought it was unnecessary. Some people were very uncomfortable watching it. Most people I talked to were genuinely uncomfortable watching it. So let's delve into why you shouldn't be uncomfortable watching it, and if you are, what that possibly means, and why I think Jenny added it in there. For the record, I probably would have done the same thing, maybe from a different angle. I was saying, a lot of people felt uncomfortable because they thought that they weren't supposed to see that, because they equate it to being the same thing as a woman giving birth, which is, by the way, something that YouTube freely shows for everyone's viewing pleasure, because it is not supposed to be a pleasurable thing. It is the gift of life, a baby's head tearing through a woman's body to have life be brought into the world. There are also waxing videos on here too, which I found very shocking, given that this is the same platform that limits my videos and age restricts them when there's no reason to. But they don't age restrict those, which is freaking weird. They do some of them, but a lot of them they don't, which is like, okay, what are we doing? By the way, YouTube did take care of that and said it didn't violate anything, so they took it off. Let's see if it stays that way. Anyway, they decided to show this because, quite simply put, Jendy wanted us to feel like we were there. It's the gift of life. It is more real to us when we see it actually happening, when we're witnessing what they're seeing. And honestly, there's nothing sensual about it. And the reason why people feel uncomfortable, don't be sad, but the reason why most people feel uncomfortable is because there's some kind of sensualization going, you know the word I'm trying to use, going on in their minds. And in your point of view, you're like, that's her vagine. No, it's not. Actually, dinosaurs, reptiles, and birds have something called a cloaca. So basically everything comes out of there, poo, eggs, everything. And while it is the opening that is used for copulation in creatures, watching an egg being laid by a creature that is closely related to a bird isn't seen as the kind of thing that people would be like, oh my god, that's freaking hot. I mean, some people probably would, just as I'm sure there are some people who were, weird and they see birthing videos and somehow they see all that ripping and tearing and they're like, this is freaking great. And no, to each his own, whatever. But this specifically is not that. This is Jendy showing us what is the equivalent of a chicken laying an egg. We see chicken egg laying videos all the time. Nobody says anything about chickens laying eggs. We see turtle documentaries on YouTube and even animations of people doing that. Nobody says anything about it because essentially it's this tube. It's just a weird hole that doesn't have all those parts that human beings openings do. So since there's no hanky-panky-ish stuff going on, there's no reason for anyone to feel uncomfortable about that. Now I get it. In some birthing videos, someone watching that, they probably feel uncomfortable too. But would you feel uncomfortable being in a room and hearing a woman give birth and not seeing her opening? Or do you only feel uncomfortable if you're at the angle where you can actually see the baby coming through? Either way, I think it has to do with your perception. I'm not naive enough to think that people don't, Rule 34 Fang. That's something I personally haven't looked up, and honestly, I don't want to. I don't want to accidentally stumble upon it because I think it would just ruin things for me. I don't want to look at Fang that way. That's freaking gross. She's like a baby, and I just want to protect her. I can't see her as anything other than that. And I am completely sure, 100%, that there is some Fang Rule 34 stuff with Spear, because the internet is a degenerative place. But Jendy likes to show realism. It's funny how people are not offended or they're not uncomfortable seeing all the gory stuff that we've seen in this. And I think that that's part of the reason Jenny probably put that in there, because if you see the comparison, people are like, oh my god, heads are being smashed, that's freaking awesome, intestines are flying out of their bodies and their bodies are just being destroyed, and everyone's praising the show, but oh no, show a close-up of a dinosaur's cloaca laying an egg, and all of a sudden everybody's uncomfortable? Really? Are we really doing this for a show that is this gory and shows things that most other R-rated stuff don't show? I think there's a little bit of weirdness going on there, but I believe that the people who feel uncomfortable probably think, oh, this is a main character, and that's her thingy-majig, and we're up close and personal to it. It's very intimate, and so they probably feel as though they're being intrusive. Like, this is something private that we're not supposed to see. We can watch people killing people, because, you know, it's something that happens. But watching a mother give birth or lay an egg, nope, that's not allowed. But I'm glad that Jenny decided to add it, because it is a very beautiful scene, and it does feel like I am there. And to be honest, aside from the dinosaur documentaries that we've seen, you don't really see a lot of media portraying dinosaurs laying eggs. Like, actually in the process of laying those eggs. I don't remember which documentary this one, but it showed the T-Rex and Brachiosauruses laying eggs. Nobody was offended by that or felt uncomfortable about it because it seemed like a quick process that was just a machinery or heavily cold and mechanical way of putting out babies. It's, oh, that thing is just popping out a round object and then it leaves it there and then it hatches. But somehow seeing the portrayal of Fang closing her eyes and in obvious pain, people somehow feel as though, oh no, I'm not supposed to be seeing this. There's too much pain going on with it from the other end, so pain from that back end on her face while that's happening means something I shouldn't be seeing. It's akin to watching someone take a poo or something else. I guarantee you that if this scene was done over and Fang had a dead look on her face, like when she's trying to find the nest and she's like looking around, she's like, huh, doop-de-doop, gotta lay my eggs. And she was in the stands and had the same look on her face and the eggs came out really fast, nobody would have a problem. Nobody also found a problem when Yoshi was laying eggs in the Super Mario Brothers game. I collected every single one of these games and I still have them. There's a few more I still have to find. They're very elusive and the only place you could find them are like $129 and I'm like, what the hell? Are they really worth that much? Most of the ones I have were handed down to me from my mom and she had the freaking NES. That was freaking awesome. And then she freaking left it in New York. Good job with the freaking duck hunting gun, the original. Good job, Mom. Anyway, we see here that Yoshi quickly pops out his eggs. And as you can see, it's a quick process and you don't really see anything happen. He doesn't look like he's in pain. He's like, ugh, and there's an egg. There you go. And I'm going to use it to do whatever. Just like a chicken. He does the same thing in one of my favorite games, Super Smash 64. See how fast Yoshi does it? Nobody ever says anything about that. In those instances, or even in real life, when we see birds and chickens laying eggs, no one ever bats an eye. Even when the chicken is making those noises where it's clearly uncomfortable for some of them, until they laid a few, no one cares. But Fang is straining and takes a little bit too long and looks a little too uncomfortable and all of a sudden people are uncomfortable. Is it the pain? Or is it because they've anthropomorphized Fang to have more human qualities? She's not just this character that is played, she has an arc. She has a personality. She feels more important than just a video game character being controlled. You care what happens to her. And so, you equate that anthropomorphization to being more human and less animal, thus making you a little bit more uncomfortable. I've seen this happen in real life. When my Shiba Inu was in heat, I posted a picture of her just lying down, but her butt just happened to be the angle that I took it from. I said, my poor baby is in heat. Is there anything that you guys do for your animals to make them more, feel a little bit better? And some people genuinely were trying to help me. They were saying, oh, poor baby. Because when bitches go in heat, their thing swells up. It's a lot more obvious than all the other pictures I used to take of her lying down and sleeping in that same position. So a bunch of people were like, why'd you expose her like that? Ew, you should keep that private. And I'm like, are you seriously sexualizing a puppy? A dog? Like, something is seriously wrong with you if you look at this picture and you're like, oh my God. Oh, I feel like I shouldn't be looking at this. Every single one of us have gone out in public with our bitches in heat that look like that. But I post a picture of her lying down. She's not even on her back. She's lying down on her side and her tail is kind of in the way, but you can kind of see it poking out because it's huge. And it got so triggering to people that they removed my post and I left that group because these people were freaking idiots. I'm like, okay, something's seriously wrong with you people, so let me leave. Even other people in the group were thinking it was so freaking weird that that people were having an issue with this. By the way, other people had also posted pictures of their dog while they were in heat, and you could see their snatchy poos too, because mine was the subject and I was asking legitimately, like, how can I help my dog? People got so offended over that. People are weird. And I think as a result, sometimes people act a little crazy because they put their own thoughts and how they portray things or see things onto characters or onto other animals or other species that really doesn't need to be there. So I think that's why people feel uncomfortable. Also, I have no problem with Jendi putting it up there. It's not something that should be felt uncomfortable. Now, I could understand if blood was blasting out and she was crying, like that would be very inappropriate, and I would be kind of crying. I would be kind of traumatized if I saw that. That would be uncomfortable, but she's literally just laying an egg. I mean, it's not that deep. Anyway, that was just the video. I thought it was an interesting conversation. Maybe any of you down below, you can tell why it made you feel uncomfortable. There was a lot of people it did make feel uncomfortable. I'd like to just hear it from your words. I'm just going off of what I observe with humans and what I think, but it is better to hear it from the mouths of others. There's some people probably don't even know why they felt uncomfortable, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.